and welcome to a Minecraft Recurrent Complex tutorial. When you're watching this video, you probably already know what Recurrent Complex is, but in case you don't, let me quickly summarize. Recurrent Complex lets you randomly spawn structures in your world that you have previously built. This includes, but is not limited to, single buildings, randomized mazes, and even villages. So if you are a mod pack developer, server owner, or if you're just into making maps, then this mod is for you. And it is a very powerful mod at that. And now that we know what Recurrent Complex is, let me tell you what it is not. It is not easy. Yes, there's a wiki page, but it is not a complete wiki and barely scratches the surface of what Recurrent Complex can do. I've tried to search YouTube for a decent tutorial video, but aside from a few mod spotlights, I only found a Maxter's video, which explains some features of this mod. I will link to the wiki and the Maxter's video in the video description below. Luckily, Recurrent Complex has an active Discord channel where people are willing to help you and answer your question. This mod was developed by Evorius and is available for Java versions 1.7 and 1.12. Evorius himself said he won't develop any Recurrent Complex for newer versions, but is open for someone else doing the port. He mentioned that Recurrent Complex is a rather complicated mod, and it shows. I will be basing this video on Minecraft 1.12.2 and Recurrent Complex version 1.4.8.2. I myself am by far no expert on this mod, but everything that I'm showing you here is learning by doing. Some things I have not fully understood myself, and if you know the answer or a better way, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Now, with that preliminary information out of the way, let's get right to the tutorial. In this video, I will be showing some of the basic tools and blocks and how to use them. This will become essential when you want to export your structures later. I will go also through all commands and how to use them, or at least most of the commands. So let's start with the wands. There's the block selector wand and the floating block selector wand. These two, the green one is the block selector and then there's the floating block selector wand. Let's start with the block selector wand. You can use the block selector wand by right-clicking as a starting point, one block, and then control right-clicking another endpoint, and this will get you your selection. Now, the selection itself will do nothing on its own. You can change it at any time by, for instance, right-clicking again the middle block in this case, or by control right-clicking the middle block also. Now I've just selected this one particular block. And you also see that the block selector wand works over quite a distance. So it can work from here to, let's say, over here. Or if I want to go crazy, I can even select blocks over here and even further away. As far as I can see, I can select blocks using this block selector wand. Now that is great. It also, of course, works in several dimensions, and I can even go up to here if I want to. So now I've selected a rather long cube. So, but the question now is, this selection will do nothing of its own, and but we will use it later to export whatever it is that we have built. And the drawback of this block selector here is that you can't select blocks in the air. For instance, if I wanted to select this, but just this here, these, so to speak, 6 blocks, I would probably start here. But how would I get up here? I can't select, I can only select this block. Then yes, I have selected this block area here, but I want to include this. And how would I do that? Now for this, you are going to use the floating block selector, which unlike the block selector, only selects the block next to you, but gives you the ability to also select air blocks like this one here. So I used right click on this section. Now I have to control right click this section here again. It just works like the block selector, but you can just select the block next to you. If you see this blue line here, this is the block that you can select, and it's always right next to you. Next up, we will have a look at some of the blocks that come with this block. For instance, there is the solid natural floor block over here, which I have included in my, build over here in many of the places. And what this block does, it is basically a placeholder for in whatever biome it spawns in. This block here will be replaced with a predominant soil of that area. So, for instance, if this structure spawns in a plains biome, for instance, it will all be replaced by grass. While in the desert biome, this will turn into sand. So that is a very neat feature. Then we have the negative space block, which you can see over here. The negative space block will be replaced with whatever it is there where the structure spawns in. You have to know that when you spawn a structure in, such as this for instance, and you have selected this entirety, it means that it will also spawn in an air block. So there will be nothing here except an empty space, for instance, regardless of what has been there before. So, and this negative space block makes sure that whatever has been there before will remain in that place. So that is what the negative space block is for. Then we do have these placeholder blocks that you can see here. And these placeholder blocks, well, as the name says, they are basically a placeholder for anything that you can imagine. You can script in any other block. For instance, if you like to build a house out of wood, you can adjust the wood type to the biome. So it can be jungle wood in the jungle, it can be oak in the plains or the woodlands, and acacia in the desert, for instance. But that is totally up to you. Personally, I think it is a little bit too much of a hassle to work with that, but that is up to you. Then we have the natural air block, which looks like this, similar to the negative space block, but with a darker blue. And what this does is it will spawn in basically before the structure itself spawn and create a, well, air pocket around it. And the air pocket looks something like this in this cross shape. So the air block is in the middle, and then on each side it will generate an air pocket. And once that has been generated, the structure will actually spawn in after these air blocks. I think in the wiki it says it is, or it can be used to generate caves. Yeah, maybe, but I think I also have never found a real use for these. Last on the list of blocks is the solid barrier block, which looks like this, and its sole purpose is to contain entities that you place within. They will entirely disappear after the structure itself has been spawned into your world, but whatever it is that has been placed in here is free to roam the world afterwards. But to keep it in confinement basically while you're building. So you could place a villager over here. Now this villager will stay here until the structure spawns in, and then he is free to go as he likes. A word on the natural air block and the negative space block. As you can see, they are smaller than the usual blocks, and another feature of them is you can walk right through them, unlike with other blocks. And what they also do is, if you have larger masses of them, they will just show the outer hull of the blocks. So now I'm trying to do a 9x9 block here, and you can already see this block in the middle has become invisible. So it helps you to better keep track of what you have built and what is inside. If I were to remove that block or this block will become visible again. This is just a feature to help you build and not lose track and make your screen not too convoluted. And that's it for today's video. If you found it useful, leave a like or a comment below, and next time we will have a look at all the commands that Recurrent Complex provides. Until then,